Get a motion to adopt the agenda, or is there any additions, deletions? No, nothing to add, delete? So we should be good for a motion here. Donna makes the motion.
I make that motion, but also 9.5, the RFD says asked ball.
Oh, yeah.
17.1, RFD says personnel privacy. You may want to add the P and the F to those.
Okay, any other changes before we adopt this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, we have no scheduled delegations. Any public delegation, Richard?
No comment.
No comment, okay. We'll move on to item 4.1, the 48th Street and 53rd Avenue rehabilitation. Can I get a motion? Councillor Gilroy.
That council add 48th Street Elementary School to 55th Avenue and 53rd Avenue, which is the 46th Street to 44th Street projects to the 2019 capital budget and award to E-Construction for a cost of $376,182 with a contingency, with a $23,818 contingency for a total budget of $400,000 plus GST.
Councillor Stenhouse.
Who am I directing this question to, Vern or you? So is E-Construction and Ruel Brothers the same company?
Yes, they are.
Because we're awarding it to E-Construction, but the bids come in from Ruel Brothers.
Yeah, they're the same company. The E-Construction owns Ruel Brothers.
Okay, that's where my problem comes in with finding paving companies. They're all owned by the same company. And
Yep.
are we getting too late in the year to be paving?
No, E-Construction is not very busy right now. They basically said they would be in probably within 2 weeks to start. The only people that they would have to coordinate with is concrete people, getting them back for the sidewalk and the curb. But we got till probably safely about Thanksgiving weekend safely for paving. So, and they're not very busy. That's why we're getting these prices.
Yeah, well, it's just because,
And if we sign it, they will have to honor it, right?
right, it's just that the pavement has to be a certain degree when it's laid down so that it, it has its lifespan.
2 degrees.
2 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't want to run into the same problem that we did down there where they stripped it all and then
That
With
again,
it.
Councillor Stenhouse, that was not just their fault. There was a bridging of the gas line that had to be done, and unfortunately I was away on holidays at that point, and they couldn't come up with a solution like we did in 2004, and they were afraid to go ahead and do anything because of that reason.
Councillor Gilroy.
Just two quick questions. One, since it's going to involve the elementary school, when will we be talking to the school board because of the buses coming in, since it'll be school within a month?
Once this is awarded, then we will be discussing with them.
Okay, and second, where's the money coming from?
Goodness, Chris.
As the RFD states, is through MSI funding. We had money put aside for that other project, and now that money's just sitting there anyways. Legally, technically, the money's coming to us no matter what, but we haven't gotten the official word from the province because everything's on hold until their budget is passed in 2 months' time. And that is what is holding up a lot of municipalities. A lot of municipalities aren't going forward with projects because they don't know if they're going to get the funding from their grants. So they figure, okay, well, we're not going to have the funding. We don't know for sure, so that's why they're not going ahead. We know we have the funding because we haven't spent it all, plus we have reserves if worst case scenario type thing. And that's why, because they're not busy, because all these municipalities are not doing stuff, that's why we're able, as Vern stated, to be able to get them at such a low price.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure anybody who's listening got the
Yes.
straight scoop on how we were financing this.
Yep,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
Right. I had a question, just not so much about this, but about the walking trails. Have we been paving any more of those this year? Are we going to be able to get to that?
Not yet, but we're so far behind right now. We think we're in first place, but we're in the process right now of getting asphalt out of Slave Lake, which the guys did today. They got 2 loads and they're going around patching all the digs that we've had where we had to rip up the asphalt. So hopefully the fall is kind to us and it extends a bit so we can get out and do that stuff. So.
I was just thinking of this because of, we'll have the concrete or the asphalt plant here, so it'd be a good time to get that done.
And just on a side note, we did get 1 water station installed in JC Park.
Good, okay. The other question I had is, we didn't get any other quotes, and for something this big, we usually, I think our bylaws say we're supposed to have multiple quotes.
They're extending the price that they give us for the others.
Oh, okay.
It's the same pricing we got for 55th, and Nelson was more money per unit on all of that too. So okay. I think I said it in the RFD that we're getting extended pricing.
Yeah, I guess I didn't
Yeah.
put those 2 things together with the RFP that was put out before. All right, any other things? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Moving on to 5.1, our minutes. Get a motion. Councillor Gilroy?
The council approved the minutes from the July 23rd, 2019 regular meeting of council as presented.
Any changes, alterations needed? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Moving on to new business, 8.1, Northern Lakes College convocation. Get a motion on this? Councillor Courtley.
The council approved the attendance of Mayor Panasic to attend the Northern Lakes College capping and pinning ceremony being held on September 12th, 2019, and the Northern Lakes College 2019 convocation being held on September 13th, 2019 in Slave Lake, Alberta.
Councillor Stenhouse.
I don't know if you can answer this or not, but I'm gonna throw it out there. They don't plan on having it in High Prairie as planned before?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was because of the mix-up with the booking with the arena.
Right, and they don't wanna bring it back here, no?
Next year,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
said they were going to bring it back.
try it out.
So they ran out of time, they had to book it, and they couldn't take another,
Well, what had happened is after they canceled it because of the fires, they went to book it, they picked a date, they got it approved with Ricky and then it was a date that was already booked for with the horseshoe tournament. And Northern Lakes College already had advertised that this was going to be the date, so they didn't want to change the date again. And so they said, okay, we'll find another venue. And that's why they moved. Okay. Anything else on this one? Councillor Gilroy?
Although it was approved earlier, according to a background proposal, I was asked by some people in town to ask this particular question, so I'll ask it. Knowing that our mayor is under the employment of Northern Lakes College, is it appropriate that he be the representative for the college, to go to the college event here. They want to know if it was a conflict of interest. I was asked to ask it. I have. And so all we need to hear you say is you don't think it's a conflict of interest to be going to an event hosted by your employer on behalf of the town.
Well, I don't think it's a conflict of interest because there's absolutely no gain for me attending there, right? Like there's no benefit for me. I mean, now that it's in Slave Lake, it's not going to be, I mean, if it was here, at least, you know, there you would be up and make a welcome address, but in Slave Lake, you're just a member of the audience, right? So it's not as, in my view, as important to be there as it was when it was in our town.
It does say that you'll bring official greetings and a congratulatory message to the graduates, according to the third paragraph in background proposal. I'm just responding to what I was asked to ask, so.
I think that was for the second part, eh?
Just Friday, September 13th.
Yeah, and when I read the letter, it just says that you would be a member of the audience kind of thing. You'd get,
We invite to bring official greetings on behalf of the town of High Prairie and a congratulatory message to our graduates. Second paragraph on Northern Lakes College 2019 convocation. That's why they asked me to pass that.
That was on the second.
yeah, no, I see, yeah, I was,
The first one you just,
yeah, the capping and pinning. And so, yeah, that's, so I don't know.
As I said, I'm just responding to the people asking, so.
Yeah. No. Councillor Danaka?
Either way, I don't see this being a conflict. I mean, yes, that is your employer, but I mean, you're representing the town that you are the mayor of, and there, like you said, there's no monetary gain or political gain for you to do that, so I don't see a conflict of interest in any way, shape, or form.
I agree.
I mean, yeah, I don't think there is, but people feel there is. We could look at it. So. Okay. Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. 8.2, Rail Safety Week. A motion, Councillor Stenhouse gets on the board.
That's not the one I wanted.
Yeah.
That
You can have more.
Yeah. You're not limited to one.
That council approve the attached resolution in support of Rail Safety Week to be held from September 23rd to the 29th, 2019, and direct administration to advertise accordingly. So, my question to this is, what is advertising accordingly?
it's on our social media site and we'll advertise on the sign out front,
Could we,
Facebook.
could we include a little bit in our newsletter, maybe?
The
too?
newsletter just went out,
Oh, okay.
so it's printed, so I thought of that before, but
My concern was, I hope we're not taking an ad out to advertise this at an expense. Okay.
Do we need a second, Councillor?
But we could, this could still go out on that because this isn't until September 23rd. So it could go out in the September newsletter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it could still get out in there. Councillor Danaka, sorry.
Do we know what they're planning to do? Are they going to be in town to do any rail awareness stuff, or have they said anything? Are they planning anything?
Haven't said nothing to us.
Councillor Gilroy.
I kind of like what Councillor Danaka said. If we're making this a proclamation, it would be nice if they at least even visited the schools and did something to say that it's important enough that they're asking us, then it should be important enough that they do something in our community to raise the awareness themselves.
Go ahead, Brian.
Within their letter, they said that they were gonna have employees through that week go from community to community, but we haven't had a response to see whether they're coming to High Prairie. So.
Perhaps what we could do is contact them and just see if we can get them to come to our community. On their 100th anniversary. We'll get a picture by a mural. That's right. Okay, any other talk on this one?
Okay, I'm gonna say it.
All right.
I don't find the schools are an issue on this. It's more people walking with their Walkmans on and walking down the tracks at night and stuff like that. Car traffic, they get impatient. I think this, to me, I would address it more to the adults and their attitudes on rail safety than the kids.
And the reason I said the children is because it's a place where everyone is. Kids can take this home to their parents, and it hits whole families. But it was just a suggestion. It's not that we have to have it that way either. It's up to them who they're going to do it to. But your point is a valid point as well, because the adults are the ones who try to run right in front of the train and hopefully make it as opposed to not.
Well, and they probably have plans on what they would do, whether they're going to go to schools, what they would do with adults, or what they would do when they go to any community. So, yeah, they would just do what they normally do. We're not telling them what to do. We'd just like to see them in our community do something. All right, no more discussion. All those in favor? Carry. Moving on to item 8.3. Councillor Stenhouse.
The council received the quote and design of the new town signs for information.
All right. Sure, go ahead. Start us off.
Okay. Okay, I got a few points here. First of all, to start off with our budget and promising to cut back on our spending, we've revamped the web page or the website. We spent a lot of money. We've just approved paving with the contingency plan. We may need that money. And I believe that we have to fix a roof on an arena and we need roads paved. I'd like to put this off if all possible. I will be voting for information.
Okay, we'll get a response from
I'll just let Terry answer the part on the funding for this project, and I'll let council know that it was budgeted for previously to install these two signs. So the money was already there for $30,000 from MSI.
Yeah. We, as the CEO has stated, this was budgeted 2 years ago after the strategic planning. It was put into the budget. It was not spent at that time, was put into the budget again. It was not spent yet, and finally this year it is being spent. I have applied for the grant from the MSI for $25,000 for the signs and $5,000 for installation for a total of $30,000. So the quote is a few thousand higher. So the other few thousand, if the grant doesn't allow us to take the extra few thousand from them, we'd have to come up with the money from reserves or from the budget for the $5,000. But $25,000 is already in the grant, no problem.
Councillor Gilroy.
Two quick things. One was already mentioned to our men, but I want to mention it again. When we have the picture of it, it says front view, welcome to High Prairie, and the rear view is welcome to High Prairie, where it probably should be saying thank you for coming or something that says you were actually leaving High Prairie as opposed to, because it kind of redundant said twice. But the other thing is, do we have any more than just one person who's bid on this? Because looks like an Edmonton company, and I don't see any other ones to choose from.
Okay, I'll let our CAO answer it.
For your first question, that was addressed with this sign company already, and it says, should probably be on there, please come again. The trouble with our signs is that their angle is so bad. If you notice where they are now, and we're intending on putting them on the same type of angle, that you can't probably read them when you're leaving High Prairie. So I don't know if the back is just going to read Town of High Prairie or whatever. And the second thing, we contacted, I think it was High Signs out of Edmonton also, who also provided the county with their quote. And this is the same company that installed the ones for the county. And I told Mike Denty, the public works foreman, that we need two quotes, but he tried and they just wouldn't submit one. And that was only two companies that Big Lakes had submitted quotes for them too. So, but they wouldn't. And these guys were the lowest ones for the county. So.
How do our prices compare to what the county prices were?
I think they're pretty, it depends on the size of the sign. Like these are huge signs. Like they're
Same size as theirs?
Yeah, I think they're bigger, these ones. They're 166 inches wide, like that's 14 feet.
Councillor Danaka?
I don't see anything in here that states the longevity of these. Like, are these signs supposed to last 20 years before you have to do anything to them? Stone finish, sign to be mounted over wood posts, foam copy. Like, it really doesn't say a lot of maintenance or whatever. And my other question is there abilities to attach to the sign? Thinking in terms of what we have now, we have Samantha Stokes as Miss Rodeo Canada.
I don't believe that this sign has that ability.
So are we going to, what are we doing with Samantha's stuff that's on the signs now?
We can install two posts beside this,
Okay.
that type of material.
All right.
That's what. I believe Mike said that all this takes is like 3 6x6 posts, like put in the ground, cemented in, and then they send out basically a template how it has to be, and then they just come and they pick it up and they just slide it right down over the sign. So I believe when the sign needs to be refurbished or whatever down the road, that they pick them up and
Take them
out.
Okay, Councillor Gilroy?
Can we also assume then that we'd have to put another pole with some more signs for our Elks Pro Rodeo, which is currently on our signs?
That's what I said. We're gonna.
No, so you'd be doing one for Samantha, one for the Elks, or both together? Or
No, it'd be a combination.
Okay. No other questions? Oh, Councillor Courtley?
I think it's all part of what we started a long time ago with the strategic plan, branding, everything. It's all in the steps we have to take, right? If we didn't want to spend this money and do these signs, we should never have started that ball down that track, right? So it's necessary if we want to have that vision. Signage is expensive, but at the end of the day, it looks really good. and it represents us as they're coming in and out of our community. So I think it's a good looking sign, nice and clean and neat, and it says exactly what we want. We look professional, we look ready, open for business. I think it's a no-brainer for us to go ahead and do this. Make a statement, with a sign. I'm for it.
I really like the county's ones because they really shine with any light on them. With these, I see that it says it's reflective. It would be the same stuff so that when you drive in, it would really pop out. That looks really sharp. It really jumps out at you. Okay, we're good. And no other comments? We have a motion to receive for information. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is defeated. Do we want to make another motion? Councillor Courtley.
I'll make a motion that council approve the $30,030 for Valley Traffic Systems to create the 2 new town signs.
All those in favor?
Because the money's there.
Yeah. Opposed?
Good question. Have to ask this question.
Carried. Moving on to item 8.4, Prostate Awareness Month. Get a motion on this one. All right, I'll make a motion on this one that council approve the attached proclamation to recognize September 2019 as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. And we would advertise accordingly, right? That's not on there, but I know that would be the item. Any questions on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Moving on to item 9.1, first aid responders and their backup. Councillor Stenhouse.
The council received the request to support the Slave Lake Victim Services Society to host full-day workshop for the Slave Lake community's first responders for information.
Okay. I'll start with our CEO to give some background and then.
The reason I put this in here for amount of $1,000 is I contacted our new fire chief, and he said there was going to be at least 5 firefighters from our volunteer fire department attending this, so I figured that was fair enough for us to help them out with their costs. So that's why the motion, I picked option 1, so just to let council know.
Councillor Danaka and then Councillor Gilroy.
Did they say why only 5? Is it?
It was open to him, and he said there was at least 5 that signed up
Right.
to the time that I talked to him last week.
Okay, I think I'm in favor of this because these people are volunteers. They don't get a lot of perks for doing what they do. They don't get a lot of recognition, and unfortunately they're the people who've probably seen the worst of the worst of the worst. And I think if there's anything that we can do to support them, to give them a day of fun and joy and relaxation for everything that they've witnessed and done, I'm all for it.
Councillor Gilroy.
The original problem I had with this is that I hate saying it this way, but it seemed to be exclusive to Slave Lake the way it was worded. I didn't know until our CAO said that some of our own guys are going there. And once again, it's advertised strictly as a Slave Lake thing, as opposed to a regional thing, which we're supposed to be doing more of. I would have liked to have seen it advertised to a larger area's first responders, because if I was looking at this just in the newspaper, whatever, I would assume that it was strictly for Slave Lake and not for anybody else. And if we're putting our town's money in it. It would have been nice to been more, I guess, more sensitive to the other communities, because we seem to not get recognized a lot. And our guys work just as hard as their volunteer firefighters.
Okay, so, but it's clear that we can go to this. You talked to them, and is there a cost for our firefighters? There's no cost, so this
For
is,
them and their families?
okay.
Firefighters and their families?
I think it's just the fireman.
Yeah, because I thought it was and families.
Families and support. Councillor Stenhouse?
So, the reason I'm opposed to it is, that's one of the points, but my main point is, it's directed at first responders. Yes, I do understand what they do. Their first opening statement, their first responders are usually first on the scene. And I can't say that's a true statement. It's usually a bystander who's first on the scene, who sees the trauma, who makes the 911 call for them to come in. We have doctors every day telling family members, you have cancer. They also suffer from PTSD. We have nurses caring for the sick who are dying. They also suffer from this PTSD. Palliative care staff looking after dying members and families, long-term care staff. If this would be open to all caregivers, doctors, nurses, the lay public, because PTSD affects everyone and not just the first responders, like I say, it's usually the lay public who are first on the scene, that see what's happening, they're the ones who make the 911 call.
Okay, just my thoughts on it is, yes, you're right, there are other people that are impacted by PTSD, but I don't know, I mean, this is another group that's organizing it. They're organizing it for first responders, whether that be, I'm assuming it would be fire and or ambulance personnel, EMTs, paramedics, that kind of thing. And RCMP. So it's open to people that have to deal with that, and it's a step in the right direction. Does it address everything that needs to be done? Probably not. There probably could be some more opportunities, but it wasn't us setting it up. And they're making it available to our first responders, so I would support it. All right. Councillor Gilroy?
Is there any way of contacting the Slave Lake Victim Services Society and seeing if they'd actually invite some of our High Prairie Victim Services Society people so we can benefit from it in our own community as opposed to just their community? Can we actually do that? Because we do have victim services as well here, and I think that our victim services would be better equipped as well if they were the ones going as well, not just that one group, and they both need to work together.
Yep, I don't think, I mean, if they might allow it, that's their group is going to be there. If they would allow it, that would be great. So we can check if our people even are able to go. Okay, any other comments on this one? Yeah. Councillor Courtley?
The problem with PTSD in general with first responders, a lot of times they don't even know they have it. They don't even understand it, first and foremost. And if we have people, 5 people on our volunteer fire department that understand this and know it and are wanting to go, then we should have way more than that coming. And this is something that I think we should back here, but it's also something that we can look at with our own victim services and see if they can bring it in at a later date, for our area, so that everybody in here can go. So I think we should support this, send the people that can go, or they're going anyways, we'll just financially help them, but then we can also maybe ask the victim services if we can get them on the ball to host something of this equivalency here, right? And then more people will benefit from it. But as this stands right here, I'm 100% for this. So anytime you can have volunteer people or first responders involved in some kind of a personal healing and alignment. I think it's great. So I'm all for it.
Councillor Danaka.
I mean, we're all reading this letter and we're surmising what their definition of first responders are. We don't know who they all sent this letter to. We don't know if they sent it to the hospital. We don't know if they sent it to our victim services or whatever. This is the group that's organizing this. That's their mandate, that they're taking that on. And if we can support them, great. As opposed to saying, well, and get picky saying, well, you guys aren't really doing this right. This is their group. This is what they're doing. And I don't think we have the right to say, you need to do it different.
Yeah.
If we can support it, great. That's all I'm saying.
And out of our donation category, I haven't looked, we still have funds in there? We're still lots there for this? Would this come out of FCSS? No?
It's post-traumatic, so it's after, and FCSS is strictly pre and preventive.
Okay.
They're really, really adamant about that.
Okay.
I don't agree with them, but
Okay, just wondering. Okay, so we have a motion on the table to approve the $1,000? No, to not approve, sorry, to receive for information. Okay. So, all those in favor? Opposed? That motion's defeated. Would you like to make another motion?
I make a motion that council support the Slave Lake Victim Services Society to host full-day workshop for Slave Lake community first responders in the amount of $1,000.
All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Oh, that's it? You're not staying for the rest? Come on, get rich. Holy man, yeah. You got enough to fill the newspaper already. We must have had lots of good things here. Okay, moving on to our financial report. Get a motion here. Councillor Danaka.
I make a motion that council receive the financial report for June 2019 as presented for information.
All right. Any questions on the financial report? Is there anything you'd like to bring to our attention on this one?
basically the summary page, of course, as you see, has changed from what I was doing before, as per council direction. This is the 6-month one, so we're at the halfway point of the year. So far, from what I've seen overall, everything's in really good shape, about the same as last year in June. So comparative-wise, it's also good. So I'm fine with where we are right now.
Okay, thank you. No questions on this? Not seeing none. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to our audit fees. Motion, Councillor Courtley.
The council approved a continued partnership with Metrics Group LLP for 2019, $26,000, 2020, $26,000, and 2021, $27,000.
All right, Councillor Gilroy.
I noticed in their letter, it says, in addition to the audit fees above, would be travel time and expenses of approximately $5,000 to $7,500. So we would be approving the audit fee, but they'd also be charging an extra $5,000 to $7,500 for us. I just want to make sure that we recognize that will also be part of the budget when we look at working together with the Metrics Group.
So it's actually 31 to 33, and et cetera, et cetera. It's not 26.
Correct.
So should we approve a higher amount then? Or what should we?
You can,
The wording of the motion usually only applies to the audit fees. Travel is pretty well always added for any organization that does audits, so that's also typical. If council wishes to change their motion to say plus the travel fees, that would work also.
Councillor Stenhouse?
How do these prices differ from the 2017-18? Has there been an increase or decrease?
$1,000.
then we went up 1,000.
Up, they're not up?
All right, this
Well,
let council.
I'm looking at the background, we approved it at 23.5 and now it's 26, so it's up 2,500, which is 10%, right? So it's a 10% increase from 3 years ago.
That was in 2015.
That's what I mean.
But their prices had went up a little bit each year.
Oh, okay.
So I think we're at 25.5 or something right now.
Correct.
For this year. So they went up very little. I went back and looked at the old RFD, and the next lowest was at that time was like 34,000. So that's why I got a good feeling that these guys are continue. They know our
But did the 34 include all their travel?
no.
So it's 34
It's
plus the
only
travel.
the audit fees. Yes.
So, Councillor Danaka?
So these costs that they're listing, 26,000, 26,000, and 27,000, that is for the town and the rec board? Well, I guess not the rec board because the rec board's now under the town, so that'll all be included. Okay, never mind.
Okay, my question is, like, this would be a 3-year contract. Did we change 3 years ago when we took, how long have they been our auditors for?
3 years.
We changed 3 years ago. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So they've only been there 3 years, and in my opinion, they've done a good job. They've done a good, and it seems like if their prices have been going up each year a little bit, and this is even small increase, that seems reasonable. Councillor Gilroy?
You said that currently we're paying somewhere around 25.5. Did that include the extra time spent on the rec board and the library and different ones like that? It was strictly just our books?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, this would include recreation because it's now part of the town, would it not?
It would include the recreation department,
Yes.
but if there's any activity in the society, he will still have to audit that. But the fee for that, a bare bones society bill is usually approximately $3,000 to $6,000 for a bare bones. So if they have no activity during the whole year of 2019, the audit is just a formality more than anything else. It'll be almost nothing. And then, of course, that'll be shared half and half with the county. But it'll depend on what the society decides to do.
So he's actually doing more work because we've thrown in the recreation department now, and the price hasn't changed much too, so that's another big bonus. Yeah, it'll be a savings in the long run.
It'll be easier for them to do the audit with them as a department of the town than to do a separate audit and then put it as a consolidation with us. So they are going to be saving a lot of extra work.
Councillor Gilroy?
I think I like our treasurer's suggestion that if we could amend the motion to include and travel time, what you said about the expenses part. I think it'd be good to put that in there because I think we need to keep that in our mind that it's still going to be higher than that amount.
You could add the phrase plus travel expenses.
Well, that would be up to Councillor Courtley because he made the motion. If you'd like to make that addition. if
But
it's,
it's still not gonna give us a price though, if you decide that.
that's right.
No.
So I'm hearing our councillor does not want to change his motion.
Once we budget for it, as long as we budget for it in the end.
It really changes nothing though, like you're gonna get charged that no matter what.
I'm thinking.
Your
next
travel
week.
and the expenses, because that's why they don't have an exact number on it, because it'll vary depending on how many trips they have to make, right?
I just wanna make sure when we do our budgeting in the fall that we're used to this. That it's gonna be the extra upwards of maybe $10,000 will have to be maybe set aside for that.
And you have to put a number in for that.
A treasurer should have a pretty good idea what they've been charging. Put in it for it.
Terry, do you have a budget number that we have for auditing going forward?
It varies, but normally I always budget for the travel when I put it in the budget. So I normally, and I just use an approximate. And the price varies partially, as you were saying, if the extra work. But for example, if they come down and they book for 4 days for their second audit, like they do the interim, but when they come to do the final audit and they're only here for 2.5 instead of 4, well then there's 1 night less a hotel. There's all those extra hours that they don't have to be here. And when they do the work at their end, it's a lot less hassle for them to do it at their end rather than here on site. So there's all these variables, and that of course depends partially on how prepared my department is and partially how many transactions we have, which I have no control over. So there's so many variables.
But you do set a contingency fund in there for it in your budgeting. That's all I wanna know.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the audit fees with Hawkins Ep Dumont, or known as the Metrics Group. All those in favor? Opposed? Nobody's opposed. We're moving, that's approved. The Marigold Mini Golf donation request. A motion, Councillor Gilroy.
The council approved the donation request by Marigold Enterprises of $100 to offer 4 hours of free golf to the public.
All right. Any comments on this one? Oh, Councillor Gilroy.
I do know that they are having a golf tournament on the 25th. So hopefully this will be something that also spurs it on. That's something else to, because it's not that expensive to go miniature golfing there. And it's a decent mini putt. So something for our downtown area.
All right, Councillor Stenhouse.
I was leaning towards donating to their silent auction instead of sponsoring them. As this way, the silent auction, they're actually fundraising to keep this going instead of we're giving them a hand up with the donation instead of a handout.
Well, this is a donation, really, and what they use it for. I mean, and then it would support our town and our people, so that's one way of looking, but we could do more too. It's only $100, right? But Councillor Gilroy?
Would Councillor Stenhouse like me to amend it to say and a donation item?
No, I was just
Okay,
looking.
one or the other, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? All right, we have a motion to donate the $100. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Moving on to the Fastball National Championship sponsorship request. All right, well, go for it.
The council received the request for a corporate sponsorship or financial donation for the Canadian National Championships for information.
Okay, do you want to start us off with your rationale?
I do, because it is held in Grand Prairie. And again, focusing in on if we're going to sponsor and support stuff locally. If we pass this motion, this is the second time that we've sent money to Grand Prairie.
Okay. Councillor Gilroy?
I just need to ask a question of our CEO. Are we spending any money on, or setting aside any money for the Horseshoe Championship? Because I'm thinking that that's something that happens here, as opposed to Grand Prairie. Because right now, we're sending money out of our town right now, sending it to Slave Lake. This is sending it to Grand Prairie. Thank you for putting the money to Marigold, which keeps that money in town. But if you're looking at any sponsorship money, I'd rather have it go towards the Horseshoe Tournament, which brings people into town.
We are sponsoring the Horseshoe. So, and I think it was $2,000? 200? Oh yeah, we just sent up a check, that's right too.
So 200 to Horseshoes in town,
Yes.
250.
That's for their tournament that's this coming up.
Councillor Danaka?
Is it a High Prairie team going there, or just players that are part of Grand Prairie's team?
I don't know if Jesse Smith still plays for his team. I think it's just Peter, eh?
Just Peter Key.
What's that?
Just Peter Key.
Just Peter.
Yeah.
Councillor Courtly?
It's a team that's based out of Grand Prairie. Peter Key is on that team. There's a couple other fellows that used to live here that are in Grand Prairie now that are also on that team, but that's kind of a north central team. They're from all over the place. Not just from Grand Prairie. There's guys from Peace River, Fairview, Edmonton, all over the place.
All right. Any other discussion on this? We have a motion to receive for information. All those in favor? It is carried. Moving on to meeting cancellation. Get a motion. Councillor Gilroy?
I'll make the motion because we're going to be out of town at that time. The council cancel the regular meeting of council that is scheduled for Tuesday, September 24th, 2019, and direct administration to advertise cancellation. And of course, that's because we're at AUMA that week, right?
Okay, I don't think we need much discussion on this. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to our CAO's report and action list. I'll make the motion that we receive his report and action list for information. Brian, anything you want to highlight for us?
Just to let council know that I did receive a petition today from a group in High Prairie regarding seniors bus funding. So I don't know who brought it in, and I contacted both the president and the past president of the Golden Age Club, and neither lady said that the Golden Age Club were involved with this. So if you want to have a look at the names and that on here, I don't know a contact name to even find out who initiated this. So if you think of somebody, let me know. So.
No, I had heard of that petition, and I know it was posted at the post office for a while too, as one of a number of places. But I thought it was part of them, so I didn't remember the name of the person who started it.
So one of the questions that comes to my mind, and maybe Councillor Stenhouse being the rep on FCSS, you might know, are they looking at canceling the funding for any of those buses? Or that bus, now that the county has their own?
Okay, so this has not been brought up at an FCSS meeting. This is strictly rumor driven. Like, there's no fact behind it. It has not been brought up to our attention. So I know there's a lot of talk about it in the community and stuff, but it has not been brought up. That's all I can say.
Councillor Gilroy? Oh,
Can we have our CAO talk to the county CAO and see if there's any movement among the county councillors as to whether this is a valid move that they could be making?
Can do that.
yeah, well, if there's any, we have to follow up on it, right? Councillor Courtney?
If I'm not mistaken, the county's new bus is for elderly people in the community, like in the county, and we are in the county. So if there's elderly people in High Prairie that need a ride on the scheduled events that they're doing, they can ride. Like it's wide open to everybody. Either disabled or people that have a hard time getting around, or elderly people. It's for that. There's an actual schedule, a trip schedule on the days that they go from different locations into town here, or to Slave Lake, or to Grand Prairie, and they pick up in the different communities throughout. And High Prairie is one of the pickups, so there might be some misinformation out there.
Go ahead.
Oh, I think what they are referring to is the in-town seniors bus, that petition. That's what that's referring to.
That's what it is.
And in talking with the two ladies today from the drop-in center, they said it was brought up because of the article in the South Beach News that the county was going to continue funding the town's bus, or they were going to cut back on the funding. But it's not. The town itself wasn't going to cut back on any funding. It was the county did, because they had their own bus now.
Now we know why Richie left.
Okay, so we need to get some, I mean, you'll have to get some more information and find out what the
If you can
county's
remember
thinking of
that
it.
lady's name, that phone me, I don't know, or email me.
I'll think of it.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Danaka?
Can you elaborate on where you're at with the demolition of the old hospital in Samuel Alexander?
Actually, about a week and a half ago, Greg Keshen from Alberta Health Services, who's one of the maintenance people at the hospital, and Joe Courtley and myself walked through the old hospital. And the reason for the walkthrough was for Joe to get an idea on costs, and not for him to knock it down and submit a cost to Samuel Alexander, the gentleman you had met earlier. And so Joe is in that process right now of compiling that cost.
So the government is interested
Very interested, yeah.
in trying to demolish that?
Yes.
There is some interest from
Yes.
them to
Yes.
do it? Oh, excellent. It's good to hear that they're,
I think the original estimate was $8,350,000. So
okay. So the big cost, of course, is the asbestos abatement, and
Yes.
they're probably getting somebody else to look at that too, right? Or are they
I
just?
don't know if it is.
Or
They got
they
the,
just-
they got the old symbol out there, that old mapping or whatever it is. It's in the hospital, so it can't be that bad.
All right, Councillor Gilroy.
I know this isn't in the report, but we did talk about branding. And so I'd like to know what's happening with any branding that affects our ability to be consistent at AUMA, i.e., if we're branding, putting out the new on the website, and we're putting it on our letterhead, and we're putting new signs out, are we going to be doing anything about things that we either will be giving out at AUMA, or apparel that we've been talking about for a couple months now, or business cards, or anything to make us look consistent so that we are not having one symbol up there and one symbol down here, making us look rather amateurish.
I believe all the flags are sent back They don't display the flags nowhere.
No, so I'll have to send them
Yeah.
something on the computer.
So Nancy will send them our new emblem or logo, so it'll be up there, but they've sent all the old flags back. They just flash them on the screen, and you've seen in the previous meetings we had there, and I haven't looked at purchasing any stuff yet, but we're looking at mugs and whatever.
Okay, Councillor Stenhouse?
Being that you brought up flags, are we going to be receiving new town flags with the new logo on?
Yes.
You know what I'd really like to see? It's those flags at the beginning, at each end of the town also, not just at the town center.
There are some out at the campsite,
But you know, when you drive through Westlock, it's a really nice feeling when you drive the first two light poles, have the Canada flag and the Alberta flag on it. It would be nice maybe if we could get maybe a Town of High Prairie or even a Canada flag on ours.
Looks really sharp.
Stand.
Well, if we wouldn't be standing up at 10
Okay, other questions? I had a couple, Brian. One is, what's happening with the RFP on the roof? And the reason I'm asking is I was talking with Councillor Long, and he was indicating that he had talked to, and I can't remember the name, but an old roofer guy, and he said, could be, yeah, but he said he thought, because, you know, if there was no leaks and stuff in there, he felt that the issue was due to condensation. And he offered to Michael anyways, and I don't know if he's talked to you about that this fella could come down and look at it and see if condensation is the issue, because he thinks it's a condensation issue and not another issue. Again, I said, well, our engineers have looked at it, and okay. I just wanted to bring that up, and just to make sure that's not it.
Just to let council know, we have some interest in roof repair and replacement, so the closing date is the 22nd, next Thursday, so.
Okay, yeah. My other question is just around our website and the new website. Where are we at with that?
I can contact them again, but last I talked to them, they were in, I don't know the term they used, development, like they're making it. So we just have to wait.
Do we know when it's going to be ready?
I'd say, I'd want to say in the next couple weeks. Should be ready. But I can contact them and find out.
Okay, yeah, it'd be nice to get an update on when that's going to be. I see your hand, Brian. I got a couple more questions. So, any updates on Husky or what's happening there? Or no update.
Same as I reported last week, that the permits are all in place and the letter of credit's in place, and I don't know what they're waiting for. Marion's just back to work, so I'll ask her to contact them, and I'll send you all the council email to update you on where they're at with that.
Yeah, it's getting late to start anything now, right? Like that's just, and they had sounded like they were gung ho on getting it done. Anything changed on Tim's? Because I know that's nothing new there. Okay. The other thing I just wanted to ask about was that contract or that grant for designing the intersection at Tim's. With them not going, are we still looking at trying to get that developed and using that or not? Like
that was through our engineers, right, Brian?
Yeah, yeah.
That was through MPE. Pardon me?
They're still working on it. I know they asked for some more information there, but it's just in the design stage. But in order, from what I understand, in order to do any development in that intersection is going to have to be revamped anyway, not just Tim's, but if it was to expand to any other area, it would have to be revamped anyway.
Yeah, the Tim's was okay
Yeah.
with the lower speed limits, like, they approved it, so that wasn't an issue. And then, the other part was Alberta, well, our local rep said that, they would design the intersection and build it if it had to be built anyway, so we don't need to develop it. So I guess I'm just a little leery. It's not going ahead. The government says that they're going to design it and build it if it's needed. So is there something else we could use that money for? I'm just wondering, like, we've got this money that's sitting there. Is there any other thing that we could use it for, like?
The grant is called a traffic impact assessment, so it can only be used for a traffic impact assessment. It's a very, very specific grant. It's not like MSI where we have, 25, 30 different categories to choose from. It's very focused, very narrow focus. So I don't think we can use it for anything else. And we've already put through an invoice or two from our engineers through that grant. So it's already being spent.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's coming from the government, which is good. It just seems like, in some ways, a waste of money if it's not going to get used, right?
Well, they'll take that from us and use it probably anyway.
They might, yeah. Okay, no, that was it. So, Councillor Gilroy.
This is actually one of your combined action lists. The very last one, it was from June 25th, 2019, motion 27119. It said that we would revisit the contract renewal at the July 23rd meeting. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is I have a meeting with them a week Friday. So they'll probably be asking me something about that. So I need to give them some feedback on this.
I was talking to Karen Diebert with the MMSA, and they're compiling some more information for us,
Okay.
for me to bring back to council, to persuade council to sign the contracts.
As long as I know when we can go there.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for our CAO? Seeing none, we have a motion to receive for information. Oh,
Nope.
oh, yeah, all those in favor? That's some fancy hand movement there. Treasurer's report. Get a motion on this one. Okay, Councillor Danaka.
I make a motion that council receive the July 2019 Treasurer's Report as presented for information.
All right. Terry, anything you'd like to add or to the report or highlight?
Wasn't a very busy month for, additional odd stuff. It was just basically mostly the normal day-to-day stuff, so nothing specific to say. So if there's questions, fine, but it was just same old this month.
Okay. Councillor Stenhouse.
This isn't on your report, and I don't know if you can answer this or not, but are we seeing a reduction in our power bill now that we've gone to LED lighting?
Not yet. You're talking about the recreation ones? Or
Streetlights.
the street lights. I haven't looked. I'd have to look at the financial report to take a peek, so I didn't specifically look at that. If it had been a significant amount, I would have noticed.
Any other questions? Councillor Danaka.
Are we any further ahead in terms of the money that we've expended for the evacuees?
Yes. It's not in my report because there was nothing to report for that month, but the past 3 weeks, I think it is about, I've been phoning or emailing every day practically I've been hounding them, and I finally got somebody to do something, and we received our advance payment today for 25% of the total amount that have invoices for. The week before, I also received 3 checks from 3 of the smaller communities that had been invoiced a few months ago. And so I told the province, I've got these checks in hand, I still haven't received anything from you. I want to cash them. This is a cash in hand here, you know. But we resolved some of the concerns that they had. And these communities, some of these people may have charged more than they should have, and it's not fair to our businesses to not get paid for it. It's not fair for the town to take a hit by paying for it. So what they're going to do is that we're going to pay for it from the monies that they give us when they go to finalize with those communities that have had the fires, like, you know, Wabasca and High Level and Paddle and all the other ones. When they go to settle with them, if they've been overpaid, they'll deduct whatever shouldn't have been paid type of thing from their amount. So it will not affect our people. So we sent out a small batch of checks from the 3 little checks that we had received the week before. We ran a special batch of checks so that at least our businesses in town could get something. And I got the deputy mayor to make a special trip, come in and sign the checks so I could send them out. In today's batch, there is the 25% that we received, and it's paying out almost everything except for 1 business in town and the staff time. I figured the staff time and the FCSS time, if we got paid now, if we got paid later, it wasn't as important. So instead of paying everybody 10%, I paid all the vendors. I figured that was fair and, you know, better for the vendors and everything else and the whole bit. Like I said, for us to get reimbursed, it's money that we've already dished out. To get reimbursed later on or right away, it's not going to make us that much of a difference. So I was able to pay off with this batch that got signed. They're going to go out in the mail tomorrow. Everybody will be paid off except for 1 vendor. And that vendor's already received about 1/3 of their money. So I figure, hey, we're getting there. But it's taken quite a while, as you all know.
No other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion to receive the treasurer's report for information. All those in favor? Carried. The STARS Volunteer Awards. Can I get a motion on this one? Oh, Councillor Daneka.
I make a motion that council receive the 2019 Stars of Alberta Volunteer Awards package for information. I think what we should do is make that available for people in the community to nominate somebody. I don't necessarily think it's something that council should be doing.
Councillor Stenhouse.
So I echo that also, but I have a question. Is this our shock trauma air rescue ambulance, or is this another STARS of its own?
One and the same, as far as I know.
You mean the STARS shock trauma air rescue?
No, this is culture, multiculturalism establishment.
Just a star here.
Oh, STAR. Oh, sorry. I was STARS. Oh,
Stars
okay.
Air
Yeah,
Ambulance.
STAR. Okay.
Stars as in Stars of
Harlan's a star.
volunteer.
Yeah, you're okay. So anyway,
This is a star.
Yeah.
anyways, because right in their letter, it does say, by encouraging local organizations and individuals to do the same. I think that's where the road we should be going, is promote getting the public organizations to be doing that, not council appointing someone or nominating someone.
Okay. So how can we spread this word? Who should we send this information to?
Accordingly.
It was supposed to be the paper to pick up on this tonight.
Okay, well, and then we can put it on our website, and we can probably pass it on to FCSS.
Yeah.
You can pass it on to them. Yeah.
How about
Councillor Courtly.
Yeah, because that's the usual chain of information. Comes from the minister's office to the municipalities. Comes to your office or the CO's office. From there, we distribute it to the general public.
Yeah.
So we can advertise accordingly to have our community elect somebody or nominate somebody. But for us to physically nominate somebody, I don't think it's up to us. But it's up to us to get this information and this whole program to our community, right? So that's what we have to figure out.
But there's like the Elks and the Legion and those kind of organizations that, and 4-H, some of those kinds of things. How do we, it comes to us, how do we distribute it?
Don't we, I know is there a date for this thing? Because technically, we could send it to one of the interagency meetings. They'd be the one to do it because...
Deadline's September 20th.
I know.
So we could see if there's an interagency meeting that will be meeting before that time.
Would it be too much to ask if this email be forwarded? Yes, no?
We will.
Huh?
We'll send it to FCSS and that.
FCSS is on hold for the summer? We're not having any meetings?
So not a good one to send it to right now? But you're meeting before September? But probably...
That's up in the air now.
Oh, okay.
Why don't we...
Go ahead, Nancy.
I'll send it to who I can, put it on the website and Facebook.
Yeah.
It'll get out.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, we have a motion to receive for information. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to our written and verbal reports. Do we need a break or just push through now? We're so close. Pushing through. Okay, we'll start with Councillor Danaka.
No report.
Councillor Gilroy.
I will keep it short and leave that red button alone. I was at Hope Fest over the weekend, and it was a wonderful time at Shaw's Point to raise money for cancer awareness, since we've had a number of people in our community doing that way. In fact, we were the only political area that actually sent someone, as far as I know. It was known for the county, and I'm not sure whether the MLA got there or not, but we got there and represented it well. The money raised, and I'll have a total when they give it to me, went to Ronald McDonald House of Northern Alberta, as well as the Kids for Cancer. And we saw a number of kids who had finished ringing the bell and stuff like that, so it was really good. Though this was unofficial, I was at the Penny Carnival in the rain, and it was a great time. The reason I mentioned that one is because when they put it in the newspaper, they actually put me as town council, so I don't know why. Anyway, of course, an MPC meeting. Councillor Long and myself were there for an MPC meeting, as well as, of course, I was at the part of the rodeo, but not all of it because of my last one, and that was a special one that our council asked me to go to, or let me go to. Health Services in Community consultation. It was on the 30th. They would not move it. It was during the parade. It had to do with the Aspen Primary Care Network, and they have to make recommendations to AHS for scheduled services within High Prairie for the needs that we have for the next 3 years. And by the way, I was the only political person there outside of AHS and one or two smaller groups. But I was the only councillor of either the Big Lakes or there. And I move my verbal, I move my verbal report for information. Any questions?
Go ahead.
This meeting with AHS, okay, on the committees I've been on, FCSS, I've gone to AHS meetings, I've gone to meetings, we're all addressing issues that we have in this community. And they still gotta throw up another meeting to find out what our problems are.
This was the, basically, Aspen, which is a primary care network, which has primary care networks all around the zone. I think it's 40 of them. They have to make the recommendations to AHS as to what we need. They are the people who are going to be delivering it. They had 3 different topics there. They had mental health, they had maternal, and I do the third one now. Third one, I'll have to think about the third one again. But the big thing was the doctors and people from CRC and the rest said, we have a large problem with mothers not getting the right information on how to prepare for their children. They had the school board there talking about their responsibility. They had the idea that the number one issue we needed was more mental health workers here. And some of us tried to talk about getting the specialists that we need and coming up with creative ways to get us specialists up here.
But actually, Brian, Councillor Gilroy, what I wanted to know is, all these other groups and us lobbying, are you saying that we're going nowhere, that we actually have to go through this Aspen to get something in our community? Is this, that's what I'm getting, that's my question is, are we barking up the wrong tree by these different organizations and council lobbying for more healthcare services in our town, that we actually have to go through Aspen to get it?
That's a very good question, because that was the question asked. And basically, Aspen said, the more ways that you can approach this, through them as the primary people responsible for providing a lot of the healthcare in our area, and then through the political process of the town and the county, going and lobbying the ministers who then talk to AHS. That's the best chance you getting what you need in our community. And I sort of expressed my frustration the way you were sort of wording it right now, and I said, basically, why aren't you, with the town and the county are going to all these meetings, why aren't you telling us so that we have all this information that we can then come forward and supply more than just us saying what we think? Why don't you go out of your comfort zone and tell us so we have the information and the power to go forward even greater? So I did sort of advocate that they talk to any one of our councillors before we go to AUMA if they want some of these things, so that we're consistent with Aspen and AHS so we can get what we need here.
I'll add a little bit in there. That's an organization that is not easy to get information into and out of. So, like I said, you got to hit them at every angle and keep on them all the time. Otherwise, it gets lost very easily, I think.
But we had some of the top people from this region there.
Well, we have top people from the region at some of these other meetings too, and it doesn't seem to go. But we just keep on them. I think that's what you were getting at.
Yeah, because are we wasting our time by hammering them through all these other organizations that we're on, or are these the guys we need to talk to?
Well, you've seen our lobbying. I'm saying our lobbying has done lots. Like we've got maternity in town. We've got the ultrasound person here now. So our lobbying has worked. So it does work. And we need to keep on. Every angle is good. And we've had lots. Yeah. Okay, any other questions for? Nope. Seeing none. All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Long is not here. So moving on to, that would be me. The only, just a report is I did attend the rodeo, myself and Councillor Rose. We gave out the candy, ran around the streets as fast as we could. And, so we gave out quite a bit of candy, and it seemed all good there. The rodeo was good, and I think the best thing that might have came out of it was got an opportunity to meet our MLA finally. Got a chance to talk to him. And that led to some discussions that we wanted as a council. That was, informally we wanted to get together. I talked to his assistant, said, you know what, we need to set up a time and all of that. And so out of that, they did give me an email after and said, hey, the Minister of Service Alberta is going to be in town on August 30th. Would you like to meet him? And I said, absolutely. So on August 30th, and I was talking with Brian about this, that we'll get because it's about broadband, we'll get the broadband committee with ourselves and the county together, and we'll meet with him here on the 30th at 9 o'clock. So that's a start of starting to meet some things. And then we've been trying to get that other meeting with just Pat, and it's either the 22nd or 23rd. The 23rd doesn't work for me because of we've got a Northern Alberta elected leaders meeting on that date. But the 22nd is the golf date, so that's not a very good time either. But I told them, she called today, the rep, and I said, go with the 22nd. We'll go at 10 o'clock here. So if anybody can make it on August 22nd, 10 o'clock. Did they call you back, Nancy? Or she said she was going to finalize it with you.
No, I heard through the grapevine.
Yeah,
she had a meeting.
She did say that she would send an email or a letter to finalize it, but I just wanted everybody to know August 22nd, the same time as the golf tournament is going on. So it's not great, but I figured at least we could get started so that our MLA knows our concerns. And I know we're supposed to be at the golf tournament also, but we can go to the golf tournament after, was my thinking. And the other thing, and then I'll get to your question, is these Municipal World hard copies were in my mailbox, and I don't know if people like to read them, but I'll put them in the office there. So if anybody wants them, they'll be in there. And the other thing I'll put in there after we got this book that I asked Nancy to order, she ordered it in, it came in. So I'll read it, and it's the Guide to Good Governance, Guide to Good Municipal Government. So I was going to read that, and then I'll put it in the office also, so if anybody else comes in, they want to read it, it's there. Just those couple of resources. Yeah. So.
Just to let council know that we have 3 or 4 books now that councils have that we stamp with the Town of High Prairie inside the front page, that they know that belongs to the Town of High Prairie. That one, I'm not sure if it's stamped yet.
Nope,
and we keep them in the development office. There's a shelf there that we've started, because now we've got 3 or 4 books, so we're trying to build a little bit of a library for councillors.
Yeah, and that was what I was thinking. I can maybe put those in there, but I just thought in the council's office, people can go in and grab them. Okay, you had a question?
No, it was just a comment that for our councillors, if they cannot meet with him on the 22nd, he is with one of the ministers, I forget which one, at the Elks on the 23rd between 3 and 5. They're talking to the farmers. So he will be there with another minister, I think about a new farm bill of some sort. And so if you want to meet him then, go on between 3 and 5 and buttonhole him then.
Okay, I move my report for information. All those in favor? Carried. And we now have Councillor Courtley.
No report.
And we have
Nothing. Haven't done a darn thing. I've been working.
We have Councillor Rose's written report is included.
Any other questions on that or no?
Well, you
Yeah, make a motion.
on whose?
You can make a motion to receive Councilor Rose's.
Oh, okay.
report.
Okay, I'm going to make the motion to receive Councillor Rose's written report for information. So if you have a question, throw her out there. We may or may not be able to answer it.
Okay, so I don't know if this was a typo or in just about every paragraph she refers to the board. Is it Recreation Board or Recreation Society? Do we still have a Recreation Board?
It's a committee, joint recreation committee. It's not a board. They have, and within the board, there will be a society, if somebody wants to do a fundraiser.
So who exactly did John Pack meet with? Was it the committee, joint committee, or? Okay.
Okay, I have, and just the very last,
So, which meeting?
John was there. Who's in the committee?
just the very last one is confusing. I'm just gonna, okay, so they have reconciled and completed the audit, but had to complete extra work to do so and arranged to have the town staff to be allowed to work.
Terry will answer that.
I can partially answer that. The staff that the Recreation Board no longer has, they no longer have staff. So they didn't hire anybody to do anything for them. So the town has staff, and so it's the town that had to use their staff to do all the Recreation Board stuff. So then the Recreation Department, we have a few of their employees, one in finance, one in, and that's the director. They had to do work on behalf of the town for the society. Is the proper paper trail way of doing it. So that's probably what that refers to.
Okay, Councillor Daneka.
The last paragraph, basically the shared some concerns over accumulated surplus with the rec department. Could be due to transitional process complications and management not being in agreement with the terms of the agreement. Was this part of the stuff that Noel would have included in the management letter that he would give to the town or the rec board? Some of the concerns?
Yes.
Do we have a copy of that?
I do, I only have it half signed.
Come again?
I only have it half signed. The chairman hasn't signed it yet.
Oh, okay.
So- I got a meeting on the 19th, that's my next meeting
All right.
for the Joint Recreation Committee. So the concerns were addressed in
Okay.
Monday, next Monday.
Okay.
All right. So I've made a motion to remove Councillor Rose's for information. All those in favor? Carried. And we need a motion for.
Oh, Councillor Stenhouse.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Stenhouse. Sorry. I was moving ahead too fast.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's time to press the red button.
Yeah.
I have no report.
All right. Okay, and we have, I know with our, when we move, not in camera, what do we call it now?
Closed session.
Closed session.
Closed session. We had to sort of quote what we're going into closed session for and give the section and stuff.
Yeah.
So personal privacy, diversity, section 17.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we'll get a motion on that. I'll make the motion that council move into closed meeting regarding session, regarding personnel, privacy, bursary, section 17
8:35.
at 8:35.
Are we going to take a break there?
Yeah, we'll take a break while we